Here we are at the second site. I'm facing towards the west again and looking into the same gorge area that the main wind comes, the wind up from Bishkek is prominent about 200 days a year. First point to note is that the wind here is much less. It's about half of what it was, gusting to about 2.5 meters per second, but on average much more like 1.5 meters per second at the moment. This film is taken about 20 minutes after we took the previous one, so there's not a question of whether the wind has died or not. It's simply the fact that this is a far less windy place. We're about 5 kilometers north of our previous site, on the north side of the main Bishkek to Balykchy road. Again, we're in an area that's composed largely, almost entirely, of glacial moraine. And as we pan round to the north now, you can see we're much closer to the mountains of the northern side of the Issyk basin or depression. These mountains go up to approximately 5,000 meters at the top, but average somewhere between 3 and 4. You can see they're in cloud today, but normally you would see snowy peaks here pretty much throughout the year. And you can see the glacial moraine extends for probably another 4 kilometers before you start getting the steeper inclines and the mountains begin. This moraine is composed entirely of rounded rocks, anything from 10 centimeters in diameter right down to gravel and grit. And it's deep. There's no base rock that you could dig to. Local people tell us they dig their wells to 70-80 meters depth, and there's no ending to this moraine. Now moving from the north across to the east, you can see how the valley expands out, and now you see the true extent of this moraine, but also how featureless it is, how pretty much a total lack of vegetation. It's very much desert condition on this part of the basin. This slight ridge that we're standing on here is man-made, basically created to try to stop some of the runoff from the moraine when the glacial melts occur during the summer months. Put the water back into the table rather than allow it to run straight down into the town. That you can start to see as we come in and move gradually more to the southeast. This is Balykchy, you can see now. You can see the lake again. You can see just how the local urban conurbation is very much centred around itself, and that outside of that there's nothing. And as we come further around, you can start to see the marshes at the end of the lake, and in particular the area that we were in last time. I'm now looking due south, and the ridge in the foreground across the estuary from the lake is where we were standing last time. So the area immediately down from that ridge is the area that we're looking as a prime location for the wind farm. I think I mentioned last time, I'm not sure, but that is a free economic zone at the moment, so there are tax incentives to build industrial development in that region. It's also interesting that I'm probably here about 50, 75 metres higher than that particular area, and at least 50 metres higher than the ridge I was previously standing on, and yet there is less wind, which again points to the fact that it is a very subtle wind that can be caught here in particular areas as it's channeled up from the gorge. And as I said, the wind can gust much higher than those. So this is the second location that we looked at, and clearly, although ideal for installation of a wind farm, not as good an area for the wind, and in particular the wind coming up from the gorge. I'm told that the Santash wind that comes off the lake, that's much more diurnal in its nature, can be as strong as the wind coming up from the gorge. It comes from the opposite direction. It comes from the east and travels down the gorge, but it is a summer wind caused by the coolness of the lake. The lake is actually a really deep lake, although you wouldn't tell that from the terrain on the surrounding areas. But it therefore keeps its temperature fairly steadily throughout the year. It doesn't freeze in the winter. Whereas the land around, as you've seen, very flat, and once you get the 30 degrees of sunshine on it, it heats up remarkably quickly and creates these diurnal wind patterns. The Santash generally blows in the afternoons, obviously when the heat of the land is at its optimum, and the pattern of airflow across the lake can be therefore created. So that is our second location.